Trish, you're going to introduce yourself, and then
Hmm.
I'll introduce myself, and then we'll jump right into it because this is so exciting. Like, I love this entire concept. This is the launch, the debut launch of your podcast, Ancestral Ascension. So I'm thrilled to be by your side to do this with you.
Well, thanks for being on the show with me, because if you didn't come on the show, I probably wouldn't be happening right now because I couldn't get my technology working. But it's all a learning curve, and that's okay. So I just want to welcome everybody as well. So Ani Bojo, Nakshina Nushkas Kwed, Deshnakas, Mikanakandodem, Nia Shingnaming Donjaba. My English name is Trish Meekins, and I just wanted to introduce myself in the language from my Anishinaabe language that I feel very proud about and really is the inspiration for doing this podcast. Because I do believe that our ancestors do help us along the way, and and I want to show examples of how they help us along the way. So I've asked Cecilia to be here today with me, so that we can hash out, uh, I guess, my story and how my ancestors have helped me through my lifetime, and how I've been able to move through all of the things that I've been able to move through. So Miigwech Cecilia. Cecilia is a friend and mentor of mine. And we've been creating that relationship now since, I guess, November of last
Yes.
year.
Yes.
And so welcome all. So I'm going to let Cecilia go ahead and ask some of these questions. And we're just going to wing it, because, that's the way that I feel is best to do it. Because I think that our ancestors are here, and they're going to guide the show. So,
Yeah, I love that. And so we tricked you all because you guys thought I was the guest, but really Trish is the guest here on her own podcast
yeah,
today because we were
that's
talking
right.
about it, and I thought, we got to make a big deal because this is a huge thing that you're undertaking, Trish. And on top of that, I think that your heart for for your indigenous history is so vast, and it's important that we share these stories. So I know you were talking a little bit about your background, but why did you want to do this in the first place?
Yeah. So I really wanted to do this because I have talked now with many people throughout my lifetime, of course, because I do work as a therapist at Nikanagina Counseling and Learning Center here in Owen Sound, and just listening to all of the stories and being able to share some of my story with people as we do talk about the trials and tribulations that people do go through. People felt that I had something to share. And so I thought, well, you know what? Let's not just share it one to one, but let's share it with as many people as we can share that with. So that's really the idea. And so I want other people to tell their story as well, so that people can see that we have all come from those, situations of abuse and intergenerational trauma and those kinds of things, and what actually helped us to be, or what those catalysts were throughout our life to make the change into what it is that we are, how we are living today. So that's
Yeah.
ultimately why. And it is actually through my grandfather, Wilmer Najwan, and through my grandmother, Lucy Najwan, and my dad, who really have inspired me to do this. My dad was actually a broadcaster at one point in time in his life and interviewed many people. But also my Aunt Verna, who talks about our lineage and who's been able to share that lineage with me into the first Najuan, or how we've all derived from that first Najuan. Because way back in the day, of course, our people just went by one name, and that name for us was Najuan, meaning beautiful, actually. So there is Ganajawan and there is Onajawan, and they both mean something different. So very beautiful is Ganajawan, or Onajawan is the place of the swirling waters. Also I feel, besides my grandfather and all who I have mentioned, but my Auntie Colleen, who is also my godmother, she was very instrumental in in leading me down this road as well. So I feel that all of those ancestors have really come forward and really helped to push me to get this podcast started.
Yeah, I love that. And I think
Hmm.
it's really wonderful. I love that you said it meant beautiful because to me I can see that in
Hmm.
all facets of who you are. And I've met several members of your family actually because we kind of are sharing in this really collective healing journey. And I what I love is that it's not just you who's doing this work, is you're kind of doing it together in different ways and different facets. And so you really are, it is ancestral in the sense that your people before you were doing this, and now you are continuing this good work with your family. And I love the messages, the strong messages, and the full undercurrent of like, I'm here handing down my stories to the next generation and the generation after them, so that it's just a consistency of wisdom and internal truth. And I think that what is so great about you is that you're very invested in your community and being able to help to grow from this space of absolute transformation and changing the way people are perceiving things. Because I think really when it comes to your entire lineage and how you've grown up and what you've been taught, there can be a lot of societal misconstructs and misperceptions. And so part of what you're doing is sort of rising up against those misperceptions and saying, hey, this is actually how it is. And so, why is that important to you to kind of come from a place of accuracy when it comes to cultural stories?
Well, I think that a big part of it is, I remember being very proud of who I was ever since I was very young. And I do believe that it is from from my grandfather and my aunties and uncles who have shown me or showed me part of who I was as much as they could show me back then, because of course, with the Indian Act and residential schools, our whole culture, our language, everything was attempted to be taken away from us. Thankfully, we do have language speakers. Thankfully, we do have our culture that is coming back to us. But so I felt that pride. But then I remember, as a teenager, um, hearing somebody really ranting around on the street about our people, and it was the first time that I really felt like, why is that person so angry or upset? Like I had no idea. So then this is what really, activated my curiosity in terms of what is going on here. Like how come people have this idea? And so throughout my life, I've really done everything that I could to learn as much about our history as possible, of course. And through Nikanagana, my counseling and learning center, I do offer that cultural awareness training. So I've trained many agencies and organizations over the years on the history and on the different worldviews. So I have come to learn what that is, and that we are all treaty people, that the Crown and that all the newcomers that have come here to Turtle Island have a responsibility to uphold their part of the treaty, just like we have as First Nations people. And, of course, there are many broken promises throughout the years of contact. And we are really striving to understand and learn who we are and where we come from. It was actually quite nice this morning. I wanted to talk a little bit about the clans, about my clan. My clan, I come from Crane clan, that is the Najuan family clan. And I just happened to come across something this morning, totally by fluke, of course, or by spirit or by ancestor, and what that Crane clan represents. And it talks about us being the external chief of our communities. And I have had the opportunity to live both on and off reserve. And it talks about how cranes, when they stand in the water, that they're observing the world above the waterline. And so, because they're able to observe the outside world, um, that we're responsible for that nation to nation relationship, and that we're responsible for negotiating what that means in terms of that nation to nation relationship. And then I went on to read about the turtle clan, which is when I say my introduction, I say Mikinak, which is a snapping turtle clan. And it's taken me a long time to find my clans, and now I feel like I have two. Because I did talk to one of our elders and medicine men back in the day, because technically speaking, they say that as Anishinaabe people, that our clan goes through the father. And so my father being you know, indigenous himself, but also being put through the adoption, and his mother was the one who was native, and his father who was an Englishman. So technically speaking, his clan would have come through his mother. And then same with me, like my mother as Anishinaabe, her clan would have technically come down through her father, which is Crane, and her being my mother, it was like it was backwards. So I ended up going and seeing someone, and a seer, and them telling me that I was Turtle Clan. And so for a long time I've looked to see, and what does that mean to me? And I got a really good understanding when I was in the water walk of what that Turtle Clan does mean to me. But this morning I had an opportunity to read a little bit more about it, and they say that the Turtle Clan are the lawmakers. And so they do mediation, which I do in my business. I do mediation, but also it's around justice, making laws, helping with making decisions in the community. And when there's disagreements between clans in terms of decision making for the community, the turtle clan is who's looked um, to provide some I guess a perspective, because we are healers, but we are also aware of the medicines as well. We have that medicinal knowledge. And I look at my lifetime, and I think that it relates absolutely to me, because being a counselor, being an energy healer, these kinds of things, I feel that I embody both parts of those clans. So again, like I think that these are messages that are coming from my ancestors. I had a very interesting dream, so I get a lot of insight from my dreams at night. So feeling like I need to share this and talk to as many people as I can to hear their stories as well.
Yeah, I think that's so
Hmm.
beautiful. And the fact is that we are informed by our ancestral lines. We are informed by where we come from. And it
Hmm.
does influence, who we become in this lifetime, is
Hmm.
what do we embody, and what messages are we sharing, and from what perspective and what depth. And so I think that's really incredible. What kind of guests are you going to be featuring on this podcast? Who's going to be sharing their stories with you?
Yeah, so I've been really tossing this one around too, because of course, as a First Nations woman, I do really want to hear from First Nations women, because I feel like, already, if it wasn't bad enough according to society, of being a First Nations person on Turtle Island, being a woman, as all women can relate, how it is a paternalistic society. So, coming from this place, or this location in my life, I thought, well, I would really like to highlight women's stories, but I don't think I want to just keep it at women's stories. I think I would really like to keep that balance, because I am a mother of four sons. I've given birth to four sons, but I am a mother to many sons. I have a
Yes.
stepson who lives with me as well, and I've raised many of my son's friends throughout the years, and so I really want to lift them up as well, because all of our people need the opportunity to share their stories. And so I don't think I'm going to even just limit it to our people. I want to listen to anyone who has examples of how their ancestors have helped them through whatever it is that they've gone through in their lifetimes.
I think that's really wonderful, because we are, we're results of our ancestral lines. So if we're
Hmm.
going to ascend together, it's like when we ascend in this timeline, we're ascending the entire familial,
Hmm.
history. And so it's like it's almost like when we're shifting, we're shifting together. When we're
Mhm.
changing together. And I love that you say, I haven't just raised my sons. I've raised many
Mhm.
sons, that you've
Yeah,
raised anyone who comes into your energy, and you have a very beautiful maternal nurturing energy. And I feel like that anyone who gets to experience that knows that your love, your sense of connection, your open-heartedness to who they are, and helping them to maybe ground into their identity as well, because it's such an important part. Like
absolutely.
for me as an Asian woman, I know that I don't see a lot of myself out there doing energy work, right, as a Chinese woman. And I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. And so I love that what you're doing is you're looking at your entire First Nations field and just saying, listen, come here, come home, come to me, share your stories, let's talk about it, and seeing what you can do with those discussions to create long-term awareness, change, understanding. Like if we don't open our minds and hearts to understanding something that is not familiar to us, we cannot expand in our consciousness and in our growth.
Right.
And so what you're doing here is you are allowing people to hear the things they may not know, or to reaffirm what they do know, and being
Mhm.
able to utilize that towards global healing, which I think is really the impact and the goal of anything here is like, how do we heal forward together?
Absolutely. And that really is what it's all about. Like Nikanagina means all my relations, in terms of the old way and in terms of a ceremonial phrase that we say in our culture. And then I have the gift shop that is right next door to it. And I call it a gift shop because it's not just about getting a gift for someone. It's also it's having the opportunity to go in and to purchase the gifts that were given to us by Creator to help us heal. And so that's what all my relations is all about. And so when I say all my relations, that's what it means, all of my relations. And so this is all of humankind, so I think that's really how ancestral ascensions kind of came to me, is that it needs to be for all people to be able to share those stories
Yeah, a
of
universal
healing and
purpose.
growth.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
absolutely. And so they're going to find you on YouTube. We have the link above. We'll put it again below in the comments. You're going to be publishing these podcasts how often, Trish?
Well, the idea is to do a weekly podcast. So I'm really looking to have anyone who would like to share their story of their ancestral ascension, and the guidance that they received from their ancestors, to come and be a guest on the show here or on the podcast. And then maybe there's just somebody that that you think, man, they have an ideal story that I think that would really help a lot of people. And so that that's who I want to hear from. So absolutely, if people can reach out to me, they can find my webpage at trishmeekins.com, of course, or just send me a message through Facebook, or I'm going to be actually uploading this onto YouTube right shortly here after this recording, and people can also comment there if they would like to be a guest. So I really am opening it up for anyone who would like to share that, because I think that it is our responsibility. It is part of those, one of our grandfather teachings, those seven grandfather teachings, is to be accountable for who we are within that circle, and part of that humility. As well is coming to understand what our gifts are, sharing them with the world.
There you are.
That is our responsibility.
You guys, please check out Trisha's podcast, Ancestral Ascensions. It will be weekly. As I said, will be published on YouTube. I believe you're going to be adding it to Spotify soon as well. So Trisha's going to drop
Mhm.
all of her links down in the comments below after we hop off here. So make sure you get in touch. She is looking for dynamic guests who have a really powerful story. And of course, she's featuring First Nations guests as well as anyone who is able to talk about the impact of their ancestral line and downloads and spiritual walk and journey that is contributing to who they are today and the work that they do. She wants to hear from you. So, Trish, I am so excited for you for the launch of this podcast. I think this is going to be so amazing. I can't wait to hear all of the incredible stories that you're going to feature. I'm so glad that you are sharing your light and your walk and your work with everyone. And I hope that anyone who has the opportunity to listen will be able to utilize everything that you share for their own personal knowing. Because like when we have a knowing and understanding and we take that wisdom, we embody it, and then we turn it into something even more impactful. That's really what this life is all about. So I'm super grateful that I got a chance to hear more about what you're going to be including in this podcast. And I can't wait to be a raving fan. I already am of you, so this is no different. And I'm honored that we had a chance to have this chat today.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Miigwech, for being that person to bounce what I need to say. I've been trying to do this introduction for the last couple of weeks, and it's pretty much summed up in about 5 minutes. So that's what I need. I need someone else to help me share this information with everyone. But I am looking for those stories of transformation. And you might not think that it's very, very powerful, but I mean, absolutely reach out and we can talk about what that story is. And I'm sure if we can help at least one person see that there is hope, that we can come from, those darker times in our lives. I really feel that this is what people need to hear these days.
Yeah, I love that there's
So,
always hope in the
mhm,
togetherness and the collective
mhm,
rise, and to be able to do that with the power of our ancestors, even more incredible. So thank you, Trish. You guys, please share this everywhere, and make sure that you follow Trish and follow the podcast Ancestral Ascensions coming your way starting today.
yes, for
So
sure. So
uh,
thanks so much.
blessings and miigwech, as you always say to
Hmm.
me,
Yeah,
and looking forward to it. So thanks you guys for hopping on and looking forward to seeing more from Trish.
absolutely. Looking forward to hearing your stories. So please reach out.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Have a
bye
great
bye.
day.
Bamapi.